Hello there, welcome to Brian Lomax's Movie Talk and another episode of Gotham. And it's called Spirit of the Goat. And it sees what appears to be a copycat killing happening, which Gordon and Bullock have to investigate. And this is something that kind of haunts Bullock. It's from Bullock's past. It's like the last case he worked on with a partner that he had 10 years ago. And it was someone who was abducting women, and he believed he was, being taken over by this spirit of the goat. Someone else is doing it. Someone else is using the MO, and they're doing it in such a way they're using details that nobody else could know unless they were in on it the first time round, or if they were that person. So this is freaking Bullock out. And him and Gordon have to investigate it. Now, this is a really good episode, actually. It's written by Ben Edlund. Now, a lot of people may know that name from Supernatural. I know he wrote quite a few episodes on that. I think he's an executive producer on Gotham anyway. But for me, I've always known him as the guy who created The Tick. I believe there's a new live action version coming of that, but there's already been a live action one, which wasn't that great, to be honest, but the animated one was really good, and Ben Edlund came up with that, and it was particularly the first season was just fantastic. If you love comic books and superheroes and things like that, The Tick really kind of it played on that, but it was more of a comedy. It was a bit of a pastiche of that in a loving way, not a derogatory way. So when I see this guy's name on a writing credit, I do get a bit excited because I remember he wrote some of my favourite episodes of Supernatural as well before I went off that show. This is a good one. It's well written, I think. There's some predictability in it, mainly from the main villain. There's this woman who is a hypnotherapist, and she's kind of behind it all. She's basically hypnotizing these guys to become these killers. You kind of see it coming a mile off because they meet this woman about a third of the way into the program. There's something a little bit off about her, and then you don't see her again, so you know she's going to come back. But it didn't bother me because the woman who played that part did a really good job with it. I like the chemistry, believe it or not, between her and Bullock. Bullock's very dismissive of what she does. When he first meets her, he comes out with, I can't even remember what the comment is, but it's really un-PC, and it's just Bullock all over, basically. But when they meet up again at the end, Bullock kind of figures it all out and goes back to see her. I like that chemistry between the two of them. You know, they're kind of antagonistic towards each other, but it's really well done, I think. Really well written and really well played with those actors. There's a bit of... Speaking about other characters now, Montoya in this kind of annoys me a bit. She's a little bit hypocritical because Barbara comes to her just really pleading just to give Gordon the benefit of the doubt. Not to stop pursuing her investigation, but to just go into it with an open mind. And Montoya's having none of it. And she says to Barbara, "Don't come and see me again. Don't come to me again." And it's kind of like, you let yourself into this woman's house. You know, you invited this in. You know, you can't have it both ways. You basically did the same thing. You went to Barbara without her asking. You essentially broke into her house, and now you're saying don't come to me with anything. So she feels like a little bit of a hypocrite, and it feels like a vendetta. And I think that's the way they're trying to play it, to be honest. She does have this vendetta against Gordon because of the way she feels about Barbara. But it makes me really dislike her. And Montoya was a character that in the comic books I kind of liked. So at the time that I was reading comic books, at any rate. That was a little annoyance. Other things as well, we've got Edward Nygma. I'm starting to get a little bit more of a handle on the way they've approached Nygma in this. I've got a good friend who he suffers from. I don't want to say suffers. I don't want to use that term actually, because they're not sufferers. They just have it. My friend's got this condition, Asperger's. You've probably heard of it. You can be at different places on the scale, but people who are fairly high up on the scale with Asperger's, they find it hard to read emotions. They don't quite always get the joke, and they can learn how to behave in certain social situations by observing and whatnot, but still certain jokes might be lost on them because, again, it's about reading emotions, it's about reading people. And yes, I recently had a conversation with him, and then I came to this episode and watched it, and I was thinking, you know what, Riddler or Nygma, Edward Nygma in this, he seems to suffer from that. There seems to be little pointers there that suggest to me he's quite high on the Asperger's scale. You know, he goes into this woman that he works with. He clearly fancies her, but he doesn't know how to tell her, and he instead completely reorganizes her filing system, which really annoys her. But the way he deals with that situation, he doesn't know really what's going on. He doesn't quite know why she is outraged by it, and he says, you know, that I can clearly see that maybe something here isn't right. You know, maybe there's something about what I've done is probably overstepped the mark, but he doesn't get it. And yeah, there's other things as well. Like he's very into facts. He's very into science. And this is the same with my friend as well. You know, because of where he is on the Asperger's scale, he loves science fiction things. He's not that big on movies in general, but when I talk to him about movies, he's into science fiction. But it's because of the facts. It's because of how things work. He likes to know how things work. So yeah, just having that conversation with him a few days ago, and then watching this, it actually makes me like this character a lot more than I did the first time round. Because I feel like I can see the approach they're taking now. And I don't know if that's purposeful. I don't know if they looked specifically at Asperger's and said, this is what we're going to do with this character. But if you want some reasoning, if you want to understand a bit more why someone would be like this, then yeah, look into that. Look into Asperger's, and I think you'll get a better understanding of Riddler here, of Edward Nygma, I should say. But yeah, just looking at my notes here, there's a few other moments in it, particularly one with Bruce and Alfred. There's a moment where, because this killer targets rich people, and like Alfred says to Bruce that, you know, maybe you should get out of Gotham for a little while, because the killer is also targets firstborns of rich people, firstborn children of rich people. And Bruce just he really coldly says to Alfred that, why bother? There's no one left to care about him. And you see what a gut punch that is to Alfred, because in that moment, Bruce is essentially just treating him like an employee, as opposed to the mentor figure that he is. You know, he's the fatherly figure in Bruce's life now, and he probably always has been to some degree. You know, he's probably spent more time with him than Thomas Wayne actually did, because while Thomas Wayne was out at work, Bruce would have been at home with Alfred. So yeah, so you can see what a gut punch that is to Alfred, and I like the way that Sean Pertwee plays that scene, and I like the way that David Mazouz plays that scene. In fact, these two for me are kind of the underrated characters of the show. Like when I read what people are saying about the show, they talk a lot about Penguin, they talk a lot about Riddler and Gordon and Bullock, which is fair enough. I talk a lot about those characters, but I don't feel people talk enough about Bruce and Alfred and what those two actors bring to this show. All the scenes with them make me want to see more. So yeah. What else have we got? Yeah, the ending of the show. In fact, Barbara in this as well. I'll give some credit to Barbara because she's, of all the characters, she's the one I do find hardest to warm to. But in this, I do warm to her a little bit more because of the faithfulness she shows to Gordon. Actually, the trust she shows in him, rather than. Because she finds out that Montoya and her partner are going to arrest him, and rather than letting it roll over, she says they should run away. She trusts that he's innocent, and she wants to be with him. So it's maybe not the right way to go about it, but you can see that she does genuinely love him, and it does make me warm to her a little bit more. And the final thing is Cobblepot, Oswald, and his mother in this episode. There's a real Norma Bates thing going on here between Oswald and his mother. Not quite as straightly played, I'd say, as say if you've seen Bates Motel. I mean, Vera Farmiga does inject a lot of humour into that role as well. But here, yeah, Oswald's mum, definitely a few currants short of a bun, it must be said. And Oswald too, he's not exactly the most sane individual here. But his final moment, Gordon's been arrested. Montoya thinks she's got him, and then Oswald Cobblepot shows up at the police station in front of the entire police force, many of whom are bent, many of whom are on Falcone's payroll, and therefore know that basically Gordon should have offed this guy. And here he is in broad daylight announcing himself to the world. And then the episode ends, and you're kind of thinking in that moment, what's his play here? Either he's really, really stupid, or he's really, really clever. He's got something going on. He's got a plan. Something's about to go down. So yeah, really good episode. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this one. Great writing from Ben Edlund, as expected. Like I say, it's only that slight predictability that maybe lets it down, but not a great deal. To be honest, I'm tempted to give this a 4.5. Sod it. I'm going to give it a 4.5. There's literally minor gripes that bring it down. 4.5. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5. Okay, there you go. But what about you? Have you seen this episode, or indeed the show in general? If so, what did you think about it? And just let me know. Please comment down below, let me know, and until next time, crack in.